And then the team that I think is a top 5 roster is ranked number 12 in the PFF rankings, the Cleveland Browns. I
Oh
think this
yeah,
is
the
a
Browns.
good
Yeah.
enough roster, top to bottom, that they don't even need Deshaun Watson to play at the level we keep talking about. Like, go back to that, pre-COVID Deshaun Watson with Houston. I don't think they even need him to play anything like that. This roster is good enough that they can make the playoffs, even with him just playing halfway average football. Like, I think this is one of the best rosters in the NFL. The addition of Jerry Jeudy, underachieving as he's been, like that group of Amari Cooper, Jerry Jeudy, Elijah Moore should be a really good wide receiver group, even if they don't have, there's no Justin Jefferson, there's no CeeDee Lamb, there's no absolute superstar there. But I think that's a really good trio. It gets even better when you factor in David Njoku at tight end as well, who particularly on the second half of last season was absolutely phenomenal. The offensive line is one of the best in the NFL with some depth as well. Like DeJuan Jones probably isn't going to start and yet could be. The defensive line is sort of still the rebuilt version of the defensive line from a year ago that was so much better than it was prior to that. JOK at linebacker, Jordan Hicks coming in at linebacker as well. That group of cornerbacks, Greg Newsome, Martin Emerson, Denzel Ward, like this is one of the best rosters in the league. At 12, I mean, you have to A, be valuing quarterback really high, and B, think Deshaun Watson just stinks now to put them at 12.
Yeah, I was about to say, if you just forgot the quarterbacks for a minute, this roster does look similar to the Lions, does it not? I'm not saying pure roster construction, the same exact position groups, but when you talk about depth, it's still one of the better offensive lines, much like the Lions. It's a similar group of receivers as the Lions. The defensive lines probably better than Detroit. The secondary is probably better than Detroit as far as proven players go. But it's similar across the board as far as when you go unit by unit, there's not a whole lot of weaknesses on the Cleveland Browns. And then the X factor, if you were just comparing those two rosters as I am, Jared Goff versus Deshaun Watson. One guy has played far better over the last couple of years, and that's Jared Goff. And we don't know exactly what Deshaun Watson's going to give. I mean, look, did Joe Flacco kind of play out of his mind last year off the couch? But maybe we're undervaluing that whole aspect of things. I know from a storyline perspective, they won games with 5 starting quarterbacks last year, was it? The Browns? 4 or 5? I mean, Kevin Stefanski has done a great job, wins coach of the year, but maybe we're not even valuing that enough. The fact that Joe Flacco came off the couch, got away with some turnover-worthy plays, but he was aggressive and attacked down the field, and they made a little run. They made a run, and, they got beat up pretty bad in the playoffs, but yeah, I'm with you, man. I think roster-wise, the Browns have done an outstanding job these last couple of years, and they should be a little bit closer to the top 5. I agree.
Yeah, I mean, to me, they're one of the best rosters in the NFL. I mean, I think 1 and 2 is San Francisco, Detroit in some order, but Cleveland could be 3 for me.
I think so. You want them up as high as 3. I don't know if I'd put them up that high because the teams that I have in the top 5, let's say 49ers, Lions, Eagles, Chiefs, I would say probably top 4 for me. And who did I put it? And then Cowboys 5. All of those teams are far more secure at quarterback. The worst quarterback of that group, you're battling between Jalen Hurts and Jared Goff. And we're talking, Watson hasn't been good since the lockdown year, right? So that's an issue for the Browns. And so for me, it probably puts them closer to 7 or 8. Because, who are they going to leapfrog? Some of these other teams, the Houston Texans are at 7. Sorry, let me go to 6. I'm sorry, we have the Lions at 6. We'll get the Texans at 7, the Bengals at 8, Cowboys at 9, who I said earlier, Bills at 10. We can debate about the Bills here in a minute, and Dolphins at 11. It's tough to leapfrog some of those teams because the quarterback situation is such a big factor.
But but it has to be, like, your ranking has to be, like, Kansas City is a better football team because they have Patrick Mahomes, right? But I don't think it's a better roster than the Cleveland Browns, unless you factor in, like, quarterback is everything, and unless I have a high-level quarterback, I simply cannot have a high-level roster. But, like, the players, certainly players 2 through 53 for Cleveland are dramatically better than Buffalo. Like, the only argument for putting Buffalo ahead of Cleveland as a roster ranking is that Josh Allen is dramatically better than Deshaun Watson right now, and I factor that, 17 times the weight of anything else.